pull all that information, but you can still verify it, and then you can get access to something. So your NFTs will capture the data, right? Your possessions in the metaverse, right? That will be NFTs, right? Helping them understand what Web3 is all about, what NFTs are all about, right? Get into these hackathons and competitions, right? This is the best thing that I've seen.
Hello everyone, welcome to the crypto show at Coins Capture. Today we have Saurav from Wize. Welcome Saurav.
Hi Malcolm, good to be here.
So Saurav, how are you? How's things going at Wize? And before we start about Wize, let's start with your introduction and how you came down with into the crypto and Web3 industry.
Right, wonderful. So my name is Saurav Raj, and before getting into all of crypto, I was a company man. So I worked in a corporate job for quite a bit of time. I worked in India, I worked in US, I worked in Europe, some parts of Africa as well. So I've been different places. And then when crypto and Bitcoin and the initial blockchain started, I was fascinated with the technology itself, the potential it had. Right, so I said, okay, this is something which we can do. In India, it was still very early at that stage of time, but I spent the time to learn about it, what it can do, and then eventually over the years, which is recent times, we said, okay, now people know about it more. Let's build something. Let's do something, and that brings me here. Right.
Great. So it's a good journey, a long journey of from a corporate job to the NFT and Web3 space. So what is exactly Wise and what are you doing at Wise basically?
Right. So part of the journey is initially when I started, I was fascinated with DeFi and with a fintech experience, right? So we did quite a work with fintech. I built some initial applications that was purely fintech, which was about securing your financial data, banking transactions, all of that using cryptocurrency, right? We won a few awards as well. So that was where it started. But then there was an inherent challenge because the mainstream world was not ready for crypto-based transaction banking services at that stage of time. And this is, I'm still talking about 1 to 2 years back, right? Today there is much more knowledge, but it was not there. So I had to park it for a while and then said, what actually can work in the meantime. And that is when I discovered that there's something cool like NFTs, right? And we could do something with NFTs. So I said, okay, let's see what else can be done. And this was the time, and I'm talking 2020, in that time frame, there's something new which was happening in India itself, right? Which is the introduction of the personal data bill, right? And how things will move. If you're looking at the financial sector, then there's something called an account aggregator and data sharing, which was coming on. And that was another cool thing. And I said, okay, if this can be done using blockchain as a technology where, you can have a smart contract running, which can actually tell you what is the amount of data that you're going to share, who you're sharing with, until what time, right? That would be something interesting. In India, we don't have that, but as citizens, as internet users, we should have control of our data. So that was sort of the seeding thought of what Wize is today, right? And still not, the entire vision is not realized, but that is where we started. Interesting enough, we pitched that to the Your Story. They do this annual event, Tech Sparks, where they pick up top 25 startups around the country. And we were one of those companies way back in 2020 when people had not heard about mostly about blockchain or NFTs or crypto and all that stuff. So we decided, hey, this is what we want to do, and this is how it will work. And we were the winners then. And that actually started the journey into this space in a very formal note, right? Over time, it was not with NFTs, and that is where we did the pivot, right? So lately, that entire concept of how you bring someone's data, and this could be across different things, right? So we say when we talk about personal data and engagement, let's say starting with your identities, which is your national identities, right? Tokenizing that. Everywhere you share an identity, you're sharing a lot of information, right? But let's say if someone has to just verify that you are the holder of a PAN card or an Aadhaar card number,
Right.
and they don't have to get all the data, they just need to verify that this is your number and it is actually active. Now it can be done using a zero knowledge concept where they don't have to pull all that information, but you can still verify it and then you can get access to something. So that's one part of it. But then the next part of it is, let's say your education, academic certificates, you're applying for higher education program somewhere, that can come. So that's the second part, your work credentials and history, right? You're applying to different jobs, you want to get something. So you see, based on this, Then we capture financial, your healthcare data. Then you get into socials, right? With social engagement, that's the biggest thing today we are talking about, right? People, we talk about which clubs you are part of, which memberships you're part of, what cool, access passes you have, which events you have been to, right? That really forms our social footprint today. Now imagine all of that comes via NFTs, which we can enable, and then let's say you utilize that to get a program or to prove that what is your identity composed of these things, right? So that is essentially what Wize is about. Today what we are doing is we are active in 2 or 3 of these verticals. We already have people, we already have customers, we are already deploying solutions across these, and then the entire vision is to bring to a concept where let's say instead of your Instagram account with pictures and all, you'll have some sort of a Wize page, which could be a social. You could share, which data points or which NFTs you want to share, which and then there are these NFTs which are capturing your academic history, your certificates, your sports awards and medals, and all those competitions, hackathon wins, and you can name it. And that actually will be a Wize page where you could show that this is who I am, instead of just sending them to a random page or writing even your resume in a Word format, right? So because the future is you don't need to write your word resume. I mean, you've done work, you've won your academics, you've got your credentials. I mean, it's all there, right? So that is what we're building it towards, like what we call it as the internet of ownership. You own this data, it has to be with you, right? That's the entire vision. Yeah.
So you're doing a lot of things when it comes to bringing NFT to real use.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
what do you think about the future of NFT in arts and collectibles, which is going down with the hype, which was in
Right.
2020?
Right. So initially, so this is where you say it's kind of how markets around new technologies are built, right? So of course, initially when it came, it was a cool craze, and it will continue to be, right? The recent trends that you see is more of a combination of few things. I mean, other than geopolitical scenario, you have to think of how the cryptos have been behaving. Last 5 to 6 months, there has been a lot of scams, hacks. So that really affects the sentiment of people. They're getting concerned, right? And this is not only in the crypto world, but in regular markets also things like this happen, right? So that is there. But once people will get around that stability, people will have that confidence back, you'll see these numbers will go up. The second thing which is happening is people are now getting more mature, right? So they are like, okay, I get this artwork, what can I do next with it? Now they say that yes, I've invested already in it. What's the next thing which is coming out of it? It is just that I keep this artwork, but can I sell it to someone? Can I get something else in return of it, right? The famous, people talk about it, that if you had a basic NFT, that you could get access to some events in NYC, right? So those kind of things. Now people are like, hey, I'm getting into this, but can you give me something else in return, right? So this is where if you see the concept of these player cards, right, in sports, right? People say, hey, we're getting this sports moments, but in return of that, we can promise you something else, right? We can promise you locker room meetings or access to your favorite stars or celebrity sports or stuff like that, right? So that is where you see NFTs will move forward. But today, just coming back to the point of art and collectibles, yes, that will be becoming more and more mainstream. You will see a new, it's already there, but you'll see a new category of creators coming in who will just be digital artists, right? And there will be a time when people will say, hey, I have this digital art, I can put up my own gallery, I can invite friends and colleagues, and I can say, hey, this is my gallery, would you like to buy something? So people, instead of museums and artworks and curators doing these things, you and I could be doing that, right? You could have collections from different places, we could do it virtually, we could, and that is where metaverse kind of, if you bring that in, you don't have to go and rent out a physical place, you could actually do it digitally, right? And you could create this amazing user experiences, right? Or you could have an art conference, right, where different owners of art, please, not only the artists, I mean, they will have their own stands, but you could be doing that. Hey, I have a school collection, would you like to buy it, right? So you see this new, absolutely new models might come in the future, and we don't even know about it yet. Yeah.
So NFT would be a future, but it would take, like, the hype has gone, but I think in coming times things would change. But what do you think? Like, what is making them so valuable when it comes to the pricings and everything?
Right.
It's just
So
hype, or it's just something?
no, it is actually tied down. If you see the price of anything which is in the art or that luxury space is driven by two things. One is how many of them exist there. Now, each of these pieces are unique, they're limited in quantities. That essentially will continue to drive the price. And the second is like is the greatest old saying is beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder, right? So if you appreciate something, you really will value it. Versus, if there's some artist, some artwork, or some story behind which you're not really, associated with, or you cannot understand it, you'll not value it so much. But someone else might, right? So there's always everything for someone, right? But you have to find your space. You have to find the artist. You have to find the talent, and you have to appreciate it, right? And that is where each of these people who are into this digital art and collectibles form, they'll have their fan following. They just have to get it right. They have to get it straight and connect with the users on an emotional and psychological level. And that is where it will continue to be. But yes, people might be expecting more than just an image form which is being sold today, right? So that's where I think this will go.
What do you think? What is the future of metaverse? And as you said, like NFTs could be a part where you can actually have your own collectibles showing off at a particular metaverse or something. So what is your take on metaverse? Like,
so metaverse, I think it's one of the coolest things to come, and I'm saying it's cool because it is really a cool thing. The way I look at it, metaverse is giving a different dimension to everything that we see, right? I mean, let's say today you and I are talking, this is a flat 2D screen, but if this was a metaverse, there could be our real avatars, and AI is there, and with more processing power and 5G and these technologies coming in, you'll see that it could actually be real 3D renders of our own personas, right? I mean, I go back to the days of when I saw it was a cool game then, very early days, and I think this is almost 10 years back. Second Life, right? They're actually these very nice 3D renderings. You know what I'm talking about, right?
I have seen that.
Imagine, and I feel that is where the metaverses will go today. I mean, there will be different metaverses again. You'll have schools, you'll have shopping malls, you'll have cultural events, you'll have social events, and this will create new interactions. But essentially, what it will be built upon is the core building blocks, which is your blockchain transactions, which is your NFTs, which are the digital assets, because blockchains inherently cannot capture data. So your NFTs will capture the data, right? Your possessions in the metaverse, right? That will be NFTs, right? In real world, you have bags and boxes and houses and apartments and bookshelves, but there you'll have NFTs, right? And that NFTs will hold the data that will render out what you have in the metaverse, and that is something which you will carry with you, right? So NFTs with metaverse, with the digital experience, is going to change a lot of things. It's not going to replace everything, but it will be something which will exist in parallel and kind of create a very engaging experiences for both businesses, individuals, creators, and even normal people, right? So I think it's a place where you could say typically everyone's invited and everyone's included, right? That's the concept which I'm thinking about metaverse.
Right. But as you have seen, like we are facing a lot of challenges. What top 3 or 5 challenges, if you think, are we are facing basically in your perspective in Web3 and Metaverse?
So that is right. We are still in the very early stages of looking at this technology. We're discovering new things today. One of the first things which is there is that the interface, right? I mean, making the switch over, and it's more of an experience barrier rather than a technology barrier. That if I don't have anything to get onto that, I need to have a wallet interface or something to get into that. Now, people are working around that, but typically, even when we do NFTs and we are onboarding non-native Web3 users, that's the biggest challenge, and that's typically today our only roadblock that we have. That someone needs to create a wallet. Now, there's a bit of psychology around it. The moment you say a wallet or an account or whatever you can call it, people start to think, okay, what does it have in terms of financial, meaning, right? Because that's the best thing which we have. I have a wallet, there has to be some money in it, right? But then the money in this wallet is a crypto money, right? And then there is a set of regulations around it, what you can do, what you cannot. People like you and me, we're very happy we can do that. But imagine even someone who's again 20, 30 years older than us, they're like, hey, I need a wallet. Do I need to create it? Do I need to do it, right? And typically, this then boils down to the fact that people are very conservative when it comes to doing anything with banking, with money, with financial transactions. So the focus then shifts away from Web3, from the user experience, from the NFTs. It kind of now hinges on that I have to create a wallet. And what do I create a wallet for? What do I get in return? That, I think, is one of the factors which is affecting a lot of users who could come onto the Web3 today. But people are solving towards it. That the social logins, and people are working towards that, where they can onboard the the wallet creation process. They can automate a lot of things. So that will get solved over time. And once that is solved, you could imagine that it will be as simple as going and creating an email with any of the big email providers, Google, Outlook. I mean, any of these, right? I mean, you could go sign up. Less than 30 seconds, you can do that. So that process will get streamlined. Now, that is one. The second part of that is, of course, related to the transactions itself. Now, there are protocols which give you the option to do gasless transactions. And then the other challenge is, if people don't have currency or coins or anything of those sorts, how do they get onto that? How do they transact, right? But what will happen is, over time, and some of it is already being solved today, right? If you go around talk to people, you might know many of them. They're solving this, what they typically call is the on-ramp, off-ramp, right?
Right.
These solutions are getting more and more integrated, more mainstream. And these two are, I feel, one of the two biggest challenges which is there with the mainstream adoption. So these are being solved today. And the final thing, which is thanks to you again, which we are doing, that is increasing knowledge and letting people know what it is about, right? They don't have to be scared, because see, it's natural for us. If we see something new which we don't understand, we will not go towards it. We will not touch it. We will not use it. We will not buy it. It's as simple as that. We go to a shop, we ask the customer what it is, how does it work, then only we go and buy it, we get engaged with it.
Right.
And this is why I'm very happy that you're doing this session, and you're doing it beautifully, is getting people, helping them understand what Web3 is all about, what NFTs are all about, right? How can you engage with it? And these are the three pillars. I think if you solve these three in different aspects, right? Education, understanding, knowledge. The second is the onboarding of the people, and the third is the transactions, right? If we do all of these, the rest of the blockchain, the technology itself out of the box, gives you the assurance, gives you the immutability that if you have something, it stays with you. It won't disappear tomorrow, right? Your data, once it's recorded in blockchain, it exists. So I believe if we solve for these three things, we will have lot more users coming onto the Web3. Yeah.
I think the knowledge and onboarding more users is a major gap which I am seeing. I think which is going on not only in India but over the globe. But down the line, people like you and me have been solving things, making people like available with this content. So things will change, and people will go to know about crypto, blockchain, and everything. So, with this, what do you think about the crypto ecosystem development in India? How is it going, or like the blockchain Web3 scenario in India specifically?
Right. India, I think India will drive a lot of adoption, and not only adoption, but a lot of innovation as well, right? I'm just imagining the number of people that are there, they're excited about it, and they're building in this space, right? That has to result into something much in a much bigger momentum towards what will happen in India. Now, one side of which scares people sometimes, and it's a sore point, is the regulations. But I tell you this, I mean, and I don't either support regulation, I'm not against it, right? I look at it from the point of fact that it can help you do certain things which you could not do otherwise, right? And regulations in a way come from the fact that it's there to help mainstream adoption, right? If it was not there, you would have many more scams, you would have many more people losing their money, losing their faith, losing their trust, and that's bad for technology itself. That's bad for adoption, right? So regulations are not there to tell us that, hey, we cannot do a crypto transaction. Regulations are there to protect the interest of the consumer, the basic, the person who is out there, right, who does not really understand, but he knows or she knows that, hey, if I'm doing this transaction, I'm secure. Today, if you default on a loan, or if you default in a financial transaction, or if a transaction doesn't go wrong, if, for example, your UPI transaction fails, you know that you can approach the bank and get something in return. Today, that's not there with crypto, and that again affects adoption, right? So, like I say, brakes in the car, and this is a very beautiful example. The brakes in the car are not to stop you from driving fast. They actually help you drive fast, because if I'm in a zone where I'm in a danger, I can at least stop my car. That is what regulations are. So if you're going, it will accelerate more innovation and adoption, and that is what I feel India will be. They're only. I see news that the government is taking steps towards that. Of course, it may not be at the pace which we expect, because we have been early adopters.
Right.
But imagine they will come to it. They'll help it. And see, we built UPI, which is one of the biggest and the best financial instruments around the whole world, right? Government knows, and that people advising the government, I believe they already know that crypto is the next thing. The discussions already about CBDCs coming in. I believe overall we will be a major force in the Web3, in the crypto space, in the DeFi, in the creators. I mean, and with the work that you are doing here, getting it out to more people, I believe sooner than later, India will be a name to reckon with respect to the Web3 decentralization and all things good with metaverse and NFTs, right? And I'm very positive about it. Yeah.
Right. I think regulations will come down. Like what UPI has been done, like government has been done to UPI with the mainstream adoption. If regulations have been done for crypto and Web3 also, I think coming down, it will be also a mainstream product, as in people adoption would be on a great level.
Right. I mean, imagine you if the government says that this is how you can use crypto, this is how you can pay for transactions. You would imagine you go to a Chroma or a big shopping mall. I mean, you instead of a checkout on a QR code, you'll get an option instead of a credit card, UPI, you'll have pay with crypto, right? And I just heard Google has already started.
Google has done it.
Exactly. So you see, that's where it's coming because Google has worked out the regulations how it would work, and then you would see more of checkouts using crypto. So you have crypto and keep it today, right? Don't lose over it. You'll be able to pay for nice things on Diwali and shop with crypto, right? I mean, you would be sending crypto as gift card coupons instead of Amazon coupons, right? Cards or Flipkart cards, right? So this is going to come, and I'm very positive it will happen. And India, I believe, will the very first of the countries. I mean, we have been slow to start with, but we catch up very fast, and I'm very positive about it.
And that's I think it will change in coming times, which we think, like, as we are the early adopters, we think like the regulations should be fast, but I think it's better what it was in 2017 and what is in 2020. From like banning to regulations, we have came down to
Yeah.
a great path basically.
Right. Imagine the days where crypto ATMs were getting picked up by the police and people were
Right.
getting jailed. Right. Today we are talking about having this regularized. So we have come a long way. Absolutely.
That's great. That's great. What advice you would give to the next Generation Z, or like the next Web2 companies who have been adopting to Web3 or the Web3 space specifically? What would be your advice for those entrepreneurs?
Right. So the two, I mean, this is a two-part answer I'll try to give. So one is people who are trying to build, the newcomers. Get your basics right because there's a lot of things which Web3 can do. It's very powerful in that sense versus what you see in Web2. So there's a little bit of understanding, and I had to go through that change myself to understand what Web3 could do versus what Web3. And today, when I talk to people, I can see those same questions from about 2 years back that I battled. We worked around those, talking to people, understanding what it can do. So that's something which I'll tell the newcomers that, hey, talk to other people. Just try to understand. Go to these meetups. There are a lot of people there sharing knowledge, information. Today, it's happening across many cities, not only big cities like Mumbai, Bangalore, or Delhi, but even tier 2 cities. That many people who are helping get that knowledge out. So go learn initially, right? And that's the best thing you can do. It doesn't cost a thing, and they're giving you some many events are even giving you freebies and all, right? Many programs are coming up. Second thing is get into these hackathons and competitions, right? This is the best thing that I've seen is, through this knowledge, they don't only give you the competition rewards, but many of these come with knowledge sessions. They help you learn about so many protocols. I tell you, even I go to some of them, not for the sake of participating and building a solution, but just for the sake of learning, right? You get so many cool protocols from around the world. They're building amazing things, right? And you just learn that, what else could be done. And that might give you an idea to actually implement it something locally, right?
Correct.
So that is something, and India is a huge country, right? So there are problems ready to be solved, right? You just have to figure out, go out, find a solution, talk to people. So to newcomers who are trying to build in this space, I'll say, instead of just building something which exists out there, think of what can be done. So learn in this space, and then for companies who are trying to do it, I would say, let's be more flexible, right? Today, yes, there's always an alternative solution to everything that exists, right? And this is, in fact, so many discussions say, hey, can it be done with Web 2 as well? Yes, of course, it could be done with Web 2. We have existed for years and centuries with Web 2 and Web 1, right? So it's not that something is not possible. But the whole premise of Web 3 is that it can add that extra 10, 20, 25% immediately on top of whatever you are building, which Web 2 cannot do. So yes, your 60, 70, 90% of the work, yes, Web 2 can do. We have the web services, technology, storage, compute, everything is available, right? But the moment you plug in Web 3 on that, your coolness factor, beyond just saying that, hey, this is a buzzword, I'm using Web 3, the capabilities of your tech stack or whatever solution or product you have, that increases much more. Your networking, your partnership opportunities grow much more than what you could do plainly with Web3. So there's a lot of efficiencies in that, right? And that is where, when we talk to businesses, we are primarily a B2B, in the space.
Correct.
That is what we tell them. They say, yes, can it be done? I say, absolutely, it can be done. I'm not saying that you cannot do this with Web2 and you can only do this with Web3. But with Web3, you get so many better savings. For example, data security, right? Assurance. I mean, today, a Web3, your data server can crash. But the Web3, with so many nodes and computers connected, it doesn't crash, right? So you have not 99% SLA, but near about 100% SLA, right? And that's the biggest thing. Data loss, there's no data loss. I mean, we have seen situations where earthquakes have happened, records have been destroyed, right? But if those existed, I mean, there's just much more impact of those situations, right? Then comes the fact of cost. I mean, typically in Web3 today, they're not charging, and at some point, yes, there is transaction fees of using the network, but that's it, right? You don't have to deploy a VM or something to actually run your solution. That's typically $100 minimum at a cost, any small VM, any service. You go to blockchain, all you're paying is on a transaction basis. You do 100 transactions, that's the cost. You do 10,000, which means you have grown, you're paying for 10,000 transactions. All read operations are free. Even S3 storage, today you read data, you have to pay for something, right? So imagine you're getting something for free here versus, you're paying for everything in Web2. Those are some of the coolest things that, Web2 versus Web3. And that is what I encourage people to look at it, saying, just the fact on your, today's setup, what you're doing, you could save a lot, you can build a lot. And then, of course, the rest of the experience come way after that. So very, very cool things. And these are for builders who are doing it. And those are the propositions, values, discussion points they can use and go back to their own customers saying, hey, these are the cool things that you could do with Web3 versus Web2.
Correct. I think the Generation Z is one of the biggest adopters, I would say, when it comes to Web3. And it's a great thing. Like they are making cool products, cool things around, and hackathons, as you said, are playing a great role in. Yeah. So it was great having you at our podcast, and great to know about Wize and about NFTs, the use cases of NFTs, and how it would be in the mainstream in the coming downtime. So great having you. Thank you very much, sir.
All right. Thanks, Malcolm. Great having, being on this discussion, and let's connect sometime. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.